Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's daily live stream of the market open. Today is currently May 2nd as we kick off the new trading session. There's lots to discuss here. Overall, what I'm going to bring to your attention is first off identifying that the dollar is strong today again, and it's actually trying. You did get a 4-hour bullish close off of this 4-hour candle here. The fact that it closed above these pivots and this wide range red bar engulfing, that remains, that's a bullish close for the dollar. Now you really want to see the dollar close above this reversal zone right now, which you can see it actually did do that. So never mind, we've achieved that. The dollar needs to confirm now on this 4-hour candle, which we'll find out in an hour and 45 minutes. And it just so happens to be that we have JOLTS data, and the next resistance zone is here. But if you look on the daily chart of the dollar, it's trying to break out of this beautiful consolidation pattern. Left shoulder head, right shoulder. Let me just remove some of these trend lines now just to make it easy for us to view. But basically the dollar is breaking out of this little inverse head and shoulders pattern, this little bull flag consolidation. It's still obviously early in the session, anything can transpire, but the dollar is trying to make a move up. So pay attention to that aspect of the market because it is putting pressure on the overall S&P 500. Now, a couple names on my list. Uber is on watch. I'm already short Uber at 35.70. 35.70. I have pulled a short on Uber at 35.70. So full disclosure, I am short already as a day trade. Basically, it's a starter position. I am comfortable adding if it appears to go higher. Now, it may get a pop on the open. It may not. Time will tell. But 35.70, I'm already short Uber. I'm looking for $1 on this trade or more. I think Uber is very, very extended right now, but we have some clear resistance points that lie ahead, and we'll just have to see how it holds up. And Uber's really coming on the back of this beautiful 1, 2, and now a 3-bar surge. After you get 3-bar surge on 2 gap ups, that's usually a sign of exhaustion. Very, very likely sign. So pay attention to Uber for the short, which I'm already short at 35.70. We're also looking at ANET for a long. Arista Networks is gapping lower. So basically, Arista Networks, let me just flip to the daily chart. ANET has been a standout stock for quite a long time. Now the level I'm looking at is a flush down to about 141, a pierce of 141, right around there. That is the level I'm looking at. We also have, just take a look at SYK on watch. SYK is under a little bit of pressure this morning. It traded at 299 yesterday. It's set to gap down to around 285.30. 285.30. The only level I like on SYK would be around 278, a pierce of 278. That's a more aggressive level, but it should act as some decent support in and around this 278 level. There's actually a bigger level at 271.55 if you're a little bit more conservative and wanting to wait. So basically, I'll remove that. So keep your eye on SYK. Spiders are under a little bit of pressure this morning, but they are trying to bounce off of the lows. So right now, if I flip to the intraday, spiders are trying to bounce off of the lows here. You do have Zoom Info up, HOLX is gapping lower, Vici is gapping lower, SBAC is also gapping lower today. Vertex Pharmaceuticals has bounced. You have natural gas under pressure again today, so natural gas just can't seem to get out of its way. Now, there is a shot that natural gas wants to go to this gap fill that we've discussed for quite a long time. But really, until you lose this support level, natural gas is still just in a range. But like I said, there is a chance that it could go down to this gap fill on nat gas. So we'll just pay attention to that. But clearly, relentless selling pressure. It's not an easy trade. WTI oil's under pressure today. That's likely because of the stronger dollar. So we'll pay attention to that. Nvidia is taking a small breather today. AMD obviously is a big after hours earner on watch. So AMD reports earnings after the bell. So we'll pay attention to the semiconductors today. It's going to be really important to pay attention to Micron, TSM, SMH, NVIDIA, of course, Intel, and then this is the theme. I mean, if we saw Intel report good earnings, gap up, and look at this reversal. It's basically almost back to the pre-earnings pop. So just take that into account, the sentiment in the semis. Maybe we are reaching exhaustion, you know, for Intel to pop basically 9% on earnings and giving it almost all back. That's a little bit of a slight red flag that we have to be wary of. All right, so really the top trades are going to be Uber, which I'm already short, and then Arista Networks, ANET, A-N-E-T. There's a couple interesting, more speculative ones like this hourly one, or HORU. This one's actually gapping up tremendously. It was a $1.58 stock. Now it's only a $50 million market cap, so it's extremely tiny, but if it has volume, we can trade it. And basically you can see that that one has pushed up, and I'm going to look for what type of pattern forms here, because it's had this nice move up, consolidation, bigger move up, consolidation, bigger move up, consolidation. If we get some more downward consolidation, I may look to play this one on the long side just as a speculative, more so speculative trade. But we'll pay attention to that. In terms of data today, we do have the JOLTS data at 10 a.m., so that could be market moving. 10 a.m. JOLTS data is set to come in. Let's keep a look at the spiders here. So spiders are trying to get a little bit of a bounce as well. The IWM is weak today as well, so small caps yet again are getting hit. QQQ Nasdaq is holding up a little bit better, but nonetheless the indices are under slight pressure. Apple right now is positive. Oil's taking a bigger sell-off as we speak. In terms of regionals, Bank of America is slightly lower, JP Morgan slightly lower. The regional banks are gapping slightly lower as well. So KRE has obviously been something extremely important to pay attention to, but it is closing off of the lows. I'm just going to move this back to the regular trading hours. So KRE closed at 41.27, and you can see that it's trading around 41.29 as we speak. Tesla is slightly lower by a penny. You do have the VIX trying to creep up just a tad. But really no other trades as of yet that I'm watching. There's probably going to be something right off the open, but we'll just have to pay attention to that aspect of the market. Uber's catching another little bid here, so it's up about 8%. Vertex Pharmaceuticals has gotten bought back up. XOM is under pressure again today on the back of falling oil. Like I said, natural gas is down about 2.9%. Just scrolling through here, Qs are just went slightly positive. You have PNC slightly down. NVIDIA is down 0.8% after having a just over 4% rally yesterday. Netflix is gaining a little bit of momentum. Microsoft is positive. Meta is slightly negative. McDonald's is slightly negative. Lennar flat. KIM is flat. KBH, so one of the strong home builders, is down 1.5%. Very interesting to see that. Those stocks have been just outperformers. Home Depot is slightly negative. General Electric is slightly negative. GDX is slightly positive. But the dollar is going to be very important today for the market price action. You have Blackstone down 1.62%. So it seems like the real estate is under a little bit of pressure today. Bitcoin is just slightly positive, but not really looking too healthy, as yesterday you got to close below the 50 daily moving average. You're still putting in a series of higher lows, which is a short-term positive, but Bitcoin really needs to recapture this level in order for it to try to make a bigger move to the upside again. We'll just have to see if that transpires. Alright, so really ANET, Uber are the top picks that I'm seeing, and I'm already short Uber. So we'll pay attention to Uber. Let me put the nat gas chart back on. And just remember, tomorrow is the Federal Reserve meeting. Jerome Powell, we'll hear from him. Markets could be profit taking. They could be in line with taking profits here. So about 4 minutes till the open. Holy, look at this stock. Getting pummeled. Chegg is getting pummeled, down 50% on AI potentially taking a lot of these jobs. Let me just see if there's a level here. So we have some support around 9. So now it's a 9 below $9. Institutions can only trade $10. There's a big gap fill here around that 915 level. But again, this is very super risky now that it's dropping about 50% here. Wow. What a collapse on Chegg. What a collapse. You can see Chegg is trading at that low there. So I'll keep that on my radar as well. So markets are set to open in a couple minutes here, 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So Uber's falling nicely again, almost in the money, about $1, hitting our target. This one could be a real big gap and crack lower. Just because I think the market is already priced in the stellar earnings with those 2-bar surge. Tesla just rolled over and went negative. So keep Chegg on the radar as well, because this is super high risky. So light share size is what I would be doing if I'm willing to trade it. I just really have to see how the market opens here. But around 8, a pierce of $9, I might get intrigued with Chegg. We may see some right away some liquidation, but a drop of 50%. You know, this name just went from a 4 billion to about a 2 billion market cap. But definitely Uber's starting to look weak here. So I'm looking for this dollar target. I'm going to turn my charts to the regular trading so we see the gap. Alright, so Uber, Chegg, Arista Networks, ANET. So Uber's set to open here. Markets are set to open in 30 seconds. We'll see what type of action we get here. Alright guys, get ready for the market open. Chegg is falling sharply lower here. Alright, markets are open. Uber is falling. Uber is falling. ANET is coming down, hitting some support. Sorry, I'll just mute my screen here with all these alerts. Spiders are still weak here. Nvidia gap lower. Chegg is catching a minor little bounce, just a minor bounce. Uber's pushing back up. Apple got a huge push, but Nvidia is weak today. Alright guys, I just covered my Uber here. I just covered my Uber at $34.69. Boom, $34.69. That's a $1 profit right away off the winner. All right, so Chegg is still off of that level. You're seeing some buyers step in. ANET is still coming down. ANET is still coming down. I like this 140 level for a long trade on ANET. Spiders are falling sharply lower here, so spiders are falling. So keep an eye on that. So weak market is likely going to see, look at Uber fall. Wow. Look at Uber fall. What a flush on Uber. Spiders are still acting weak. I'm looking at Chegg. I'm looking at Arista Networks. Even if Uber was to flush into its gap, we could go long Uber. So we'll see that one. That one's bouncing. Chegg is bouncing. We have basically, let's take a look at this hour one. That one's obviously fighting to go higher. Let's keep an eye on the spiders here. Spiders are coming lower. XOM is flushing pretty hard here. So XOM oil is getting a big flush lower. Oil's getting a big flush lower. Look at this ANET. Take a look at this oil, WTI. Oil is flushing, guys. Wow, big flush on oil coming in. Do like potentially ANET for a long. Keep natural gas on this chart. Natural gas is selling off as well. So what's getting a bounce today is Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. Meta is surging as well. Even after they announce a debt shelf offering that's coming to fruition. I find that so intriguing that people are still really willing to get in front of a shelf offering where they could dilute the stock. That's very interesting to me. It's kind of a sign of almost FOMO. So it really doesn't make sense on a fundamental basis to get in front of a debt shelf offering on Meta. But it is what it is. Uber's starting to get a push up here. So Uber we can short again if it pierces this 35.70 level. We can short Uber again. But spiders are falling a little more sharper now. They are hitting some near-term support. Uber, Apple's pushing up. Nvidia's trying to push up now. Spiders are still weak, so it's really the Qs that are pushing this market up. So a rotation of capital back into mega cap tech. Back into mega cap tech. Take a look at the spiders versus the Qs. Look at the Qs divergence and the spiders. I mean, that is exceptional. We're literally seeing money only go into tech here. That is just absolutely wild to see. Wild. And now the spiders did actually trigger this mini head and shoulders pattern right now, which actually the downside takes you to about, let me just see here. So, and it's a gap over a key support line. I mean, this downside move takes you to about here on the chart of the spiders. So we're talking about a 412.40 level. But it shouldn't go down in a straight flush. You are hitting a 618 fib now, getting a small bounce. ANET's coming down, Chegg's still weak, Apple's really strong, Tesla's really strong. So you have to wonder where the selling is. They're selling in regionals, they're selling in oil, energy stocks. Pinterest is getting hurt again. Just see what type of alerts we had going off today. So I did get a couple alert logs. So you're seeing the dollar trying to also push up again. So ANET's coming down, guys. Keep ANET on the radar. I do like that one for a long trade. Chegg is also coming down a little bit lower now. CHGG. So we'll keep that on watch. Spiders are trying to get a small bounce here. Banks are under pressure today, so you do have Bank of America down, Wells Fargo down, JP Morgan's up, of course. That should be expected. Natural gas is trying to fall lower. ANET's coming in. All right, Microsoft's starting to reverse from the highs now. Microsoft is starting to reverse from the highs. So take a look at Mr. Softy here. That's coming full force down. So the spiders are now also looking a little bit more weak, and we have a downside target based off of this topping formation, but we should try to get a retrace. Natural gas making a new low. The dollar's heading a bit higher now. So keep ANET on the radar. I do like that one for a long. ANET. I do like ANET. It's coming down now. It's now down about 11.15%. So it's coming into our level, guys. ANET is coming into our level. Meta's still surging higher. Nvidia is starting to see some sellers lurking. Chegg is still down. Pfizer's up. Amazon just went negative. Comcast went negative. Tesla's holding up, but Chegg's down 47. SoFi getting wrecked after that huge reversal yesterday. Pop on earnings. SoFi's getting wrecked again. Another down 7%. Let me see if there's a level on SoFi. Oh, this one's tough. I mean, really only if we flush down to this 478, a pierce of $5, would I consider SoFi for a long trade. But take a look at Chegg. Nvidia's now made a new low. Chegg is coming down still, guys. I am interested if we pierce that $9 level, preferably around the, let me just take a peek here, preferably around the 884 level. I will consider going long Chegg. Nvidia is starting to reverse. Spiders are still weak. The dollar's starting to creep up even more, reattacking that area. Let's keep the spiders on watch. Still watching ANET. The Russell's acting extremely weak. Take a look at the Russell getting slaughtered. The Russell's already down 1.15%. Clear profit taking. Let's see these regionals. These regionals are testing the lows, the KRE. That is extremely troublesome. PNC is actually holding up. Alright guys, ANET is coming into our first level here. I'll let you know if I take a long trade on ANET. I'm going to go a lighter share size again. A lighter share size. Chegg is piercing that $9 level. It's being slightly defended right now. As of now, it is being defended. Apple's still resilient. Tesla's acting pretty resilient as well. I'm waiting until it hits a little bit lower. There's a gap fill that it's coming into right now, but I want it to hit around 140.70, which, or actually, sorry, there's a fib level. Let me just make sure. 139.92 is the actual level. This is hitting a gap fill right now, so there are buyers there, but 139, give or take 82. The actual fib level is 139.92. 139.92 is the level I like. Let's see if we get some more weakness in ANET to go long. You're seeing the Qs now rolling over, so the Qs are playing catch up to the spiders. And notice how we're now on watch for triggering this head and shoulders. So you trigger that head and shoulders, and you have a likely move down to about this 319 level. And you can see Nvidia getting smoked right now. ANET is catching a small bit off of that technical gap fill. It's still valid. I still like the long level. Take a look at this Chegg. Chegg is now down 48%. Wow. That's insane. Let's look at SYK. Strikers catching a bit off of the lows. So really we're just watching ANET here for a long trade. Nvidia is getting weak. Tesla's pulling in from the highs. I want Chegg slightly a little bit lower. Let's see if we can get some more liquidations to push us lower. ANET is still on watch. Coca-Cola is taking a breather. Copper stocks are under pressure today. You do have volatility creeping up as well. Vici Properties, another market leader, is down about 1.9. KRE is falling much, much lower now. Wow. KRE, oil's getting smoked. Keep checking on the radar for a potential long trade. Bitcoin is trying to hold up, but still acting fairly weak. Meta's starting to put in some distribution at the highs. So now the spiders are down already 0.37% and likely could see more selling. Definitely could see more selling. Meta's starting to come in sharper now. Take a look at Nvidia acting weak today. So Nvidia is finally acting a little weak. You have AMD that has also had a nice reversal and then a fall. Let's look at Micron. Let's take a peek at this SMH, QQQ. Qs are still holding up, but you're looking to confirm a break. ANET is still watching. I'm still watching that technical level. Oh, look at that ANET. Look at that bounce. That was a great bounce right at the gap. Boom. So that's kind of off the table right now. We're still looking at Chegg. That is on watch for a potential here. KRE testing the lows. Wow, KRE is just getting slaughtered here, guys. Oil is testing the lows, making new lows. You have the Qs trying to bounce slightly here. So spiders are still holding up here. Haven't really made a new low. Chegg is catching a small bounce. Uber's trying to get a little bit of a bid here. ANET. ANET's coming back down, so there's sellers there. So this level might still be valid, a Pierce of 140. So I'll keep that on watch on my other screen. Let's just watch the spiders here. And I think it's pretty prudent to also watch the Russell. The Russell's getting slaughtered right now. And we'll hold up the Qs because the Qs did have the most relative strength. So the Qs are now retracing back to that level, so you can clearly see the underlying bid in Nvidia now, and Microsoft bouncing is what's holding this market back up. SoFi's still down. Uber's up to 35 now. Anything above 36 on Uber we can look to short. You have Google weak today, Netflix weak today. Silver did gap lower as well. So we're seeing XOM catching a small bit off the lows. Apple's now having some capital rotation to the downside. Nvidia's bouncing. Silver's catching a small bounce. ANET's still coming lower, guys, so keep ANET on the radar. That one's still coming in. I do like it down here, guys. But let it pierce that 140 level. It needs to make a new low and preferably hit this 139.96, 139.98 level. But markets are trying to get a buy the dip, coming right in, swooping in. Let's flip back to the spiders. Spiders are still trying to bounce here. The QQQ is trying to recapture that neckline. So it's a big level for the Qs. KRE actually just made a new low on the chart. So KRE, natural gas, is under a lot of pressure again, but trying to see some momentum, buy the dip momentum coming in. But it's super weak right now. Oil's still selling off. Big sell-off on oil. Qs are bouncing still. ANET's off the table. IWM still at the lows, not really participating in any sort of a bounce at all. Uber's coming back down. Spiders are back under pressure. Qs are fighting this level right now. Microsoft and Nvidia and Tesla alone are trying to save the Qs right now. The big question is, will they? That's the big question. Alright, I no longer like that Chegg level because that one's just definitely off the table. ANET is still technically valid, but because it's bouncing here, I want to see it flush a little bit more. Then we do have some additional support at 138.98. So the Qs are getting a bounce here. Qs are getting a bounce. Nvidia is soaring and roaring right now, so it's really just some of the smaller cap stocks under pressure. Pinterest is making a new low. Costco's now seeing some sell side pressure. China stocks are under pressure. Baidu, Baba. Natural gas is still seeing some heavy selling. Heavy selling. Nvidia is almost back to the positive side, so after being down 1.1, it's starting to float back up. Chegg has had a massive bounce off the lows. Wow, what a bounce. Amazon's catching a huge bid here off of the lows. Let's look at SoFi as well, see if we can catch a sympathy trade off of this weakness. So Nvidia is still bouncing, Microsoft's bouncing. It's just small caps are under pressure. Oil's still seeing a massive sell-off. We'll see if the dollar wants to get going again. Gold is holding up. Alright, this Qs look like they're trying to get rejected off this level. They're still trying to hold up. But ANET is coming back down again, so I do like ANET still for a potential long. Needs to flush down to about this 139.93 level. Nvidia is still negative on the session. Take a look at BP. This one's also getting hammered. Weak oil, bad earnings. It's just a recipe for disaster. BP, if BP were to flush into this technical gap, I would consider playing it on the long side, so around pierce the 36 bucks. Let's keep the spiders on watch. So this is interesting because the spiders have triggered this head and shoulders target down here and trying to float lower. Where the Qs, let's see the Qs close back below that, back above that neckline, so that pattern is now negated, so you have to use that neckline, which would lower our target just a little bit here to about 319.25 if it pierces. So the Qs are clearly what's holding this market up. Tesla, Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia, and Google. Actually, Google's down today roughly 0.89%. Look at Icon Enterprises getting hammered. Icon Enterprise is getting hammered here. So markets are bouncing here. Spiders are still weak. It's really the Qs that are bouncing. It's really just the Qs that are bouncing here. Wow. Look at that bounce on Chegg that occurred. It's now coming in. ANET got a bounce off of that level. Look at this Icon Enterprises. So there's a Hindenburg report on Icon Enterprises. IEP is the ticker. This one is looking exceptionally vulnerable. I mean, you have a gap fill that is coming up here, which could be played on the long side. So let's keep IEP on watch, because I am prepared to play that gap on the long side. Spiders are still weak. Qs are acting well. Let's take a look at DG, Dollar General. That one's coming down slightly. Nothing really there to report. ANET is coming right back down. But I don't like how this has tried bouncing numerous times, and it's really failed on multiple attempts. Oh, KRE is just getting slaughtered, guys. The KRE is getting slaughtered. Keep IEP on your radar, because that's still a long trade at that pierce of $36, and then we have the double bottom as extra support. So we'll keep watch of that. So it's really just the Qs that are keeping this market up right now. Again, trying to bounce. Look at the Russell. The Russell's getting hammered. Hammered. You are hitting technical support on the Russell. This is potentially a long, but with the regionals so weak today, I mean, the regionals just set a new intraday low. Now the big question is, do we close below this low? So you are creating a bit of this wedge pattern now that might be interesting at some point for a long trade, but with regionals this week, it's a little bit daunting to potentially try to front run these stocks on the long side. Oh, XOM is seeing a 2% drop. That's a big drop on XOM. Take a look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is trying to bounce and hold most of its, recapture most of the losses. Of course, NVIDIA is still the powerhouse. Apple's kind of lagging, seeing some distribution. The big level on Apple is, do we break this trend line today? Because you can see left shoulder, head, right shoulder. But these markets are in trouble right now. Natural gas is still heading lower. SoFi, I'm interested at 479. 479 on SoFi. I am interested at a long trade on SoFi. It's coming in now. Spiders are still nearing the lows. Take a look at the DXY. That's trying to perk back up. So the Qs are going to be the important one. NVIDIA is now seeing some more selling. ANET has had a fantastic bounce off of the lows. Home builders are under some slight pressure today. Blackstone is down 4% right now. Amazing move on Blackstone. PNC is now falling. Silver's gapped lower. Coinbase is under pressure as well. Netflix is under pressure. We have many stocks under some very heavy pressure right now. So markets are selling off now some more, guys. Dollar's starting to perk up. Qs are seeing some heavy selling now. Meta's coming down. SoFi's coming down now. Tesla's the one that's holding up. Hindenburg strikes again on IEP, down 17%. That's probably what's weighing. I think Icon's part of the regionals, maybe. That's why they're so weak today. Let's see the super regional PNC holding in there. XLF, that's down. Spiders are still acting extremely weak here, guys. Extremely weak. Qs are really what's stopping this market from kind of imploding a lot lower here. Oil's just dumping. XOM is just dumping. Volatility is starting to uptick. Copper stocks are under immense pressure today. There's a level on Freeport McMoran. FCX is the ticker that I would consider going long at. The level is 36.20 to 36.13. So keep FCX on your radar because copper stocks are under immense pressure. But I do like, let me just erase these previous drawings. The level I like is 36.23. And 36.13. Look at this dollar surging, guys. Look at that dollar surging. Is it gold responding? Gold's starting to respond. Oil's certainly responding. Look at that sell-off on oil. Let me just see if there's some technical levels on oil. There might be a level to play against. I mean, the only level I like is once we're inside of this bar, so around that 70 that I've been updating members on. Nvidia is starting to test the lows again. So now look at this dollar surging. We have JOLTS data coming in 2 minutes, guys. So JOLTS data and the dollar's already spiking. So JOLTS data is out in 2 minutes and we have the dollar spiking. Maybe it's leaked ahead of time. You don't have the yield spiking, so let's continue to watch this S&P here because the JOLTS data could come in and spike the dollar even more. So I'm going to pay attention to the spiders here. McDonald's is still acting extremely well. Gold seeing a heavy sell-off. New lows on the regionals. KRE is getting absolutely taken to the woodshed. Slaughtered. Wow, the dollar's surging right now, guys. The dollar is surging. All right, 1 minute till JOLTS data. 1 minute till JOLTS data. So the Qs are really what's keeping this market afloat. The same story. A couple handful of stocks are keeping this market afloat. So JOLTS data should be out any moment. I'm watching that dollar because it has spiked tremendously. Let's see what happens here. And we could get a flush down on SoFi. Watching that. Freeport. 7 seconds, guys, till JOLTS. 7 seconds and the dollar's at the highs. Holding up. Markets are catching a small bounce here. So spiders bounced, dollar dropped. JOLTS data, obviously the markets are liking the JOLTS data as of now because the dollar is dropping and the spiders got an initial bounce. So spiders are getting a big bounce here. I'm going to look at Uber for a short if we get a push back up. I'm looking at Uber for a short, big reversal. The JOLTS data was a big miss. So big miss. Maybe some weakening is finally starting to come. Look at this fall in the dollar. Boom. And the interesting thing, whoa, look at this surge on gold. Boom. An inverse move of the dollar right now. So JOLTS data was a big miss and the spiders barely reacted to that. So now we might be in a scenario where the markets are going to price in a recession. We're still waiting for that. We're very close, in my opinion, to that turning point where markets price in a recession. Because the spiders should be rallying off of that huge dump on the dollar and they really haven't reacted. Look at that big drop on the dollar and the spiders really haven't reacted yet. I'm still interested in a long trade. I'm just waiting to see if there's anything that I can see. But right now it's not. With the spiders not reacting, that's very concerning. That is very concerning. Gold is the only thing that's reacting. Oil's not even reacting. Let's take a look at this SAIA. So SAIA is coming down as well. But a big sell coming into the spiders here. But we'll see if they get a bounce off of this weaker dollar. Qs are also starting to come down. So QQQ. The Qs are looking to potentially trigger this head and shoulders. Meta's reversed off the highs. Nvidia is still coming down. Gold's really the only thing that's catching the bid. Look at Pinterest. Pinterest is even coming into a nice level. I do like Pinterest long at around 21.20, so I'm going to keep pins on my radar. That's actually a better play than SoFi in my opinion. So pins at around 21.26. 21.26. We can go long pins. So Qs are catching a bounce. The dollar's really softened quite substantially. So keep Pinterest on your radar. I do like 21.29 for a long on pins. And again, I think what we're seeing right now is maybe oil starting to price in a potential recession. Obviously, natural gas has been exceptionally weak. You look at copper. Copper's also potentially trying to price in a recession, but it is getting a bounce here. And really, the stocks haven't responded as of yet. Qs are still holding up. Spiders are not at the downside target yet. They're trying to bounce here. They are trying to bounce, and the yields dropped significantly. The VIX is still surging higher right now. Blackstone is getting absolutely demolished. It is now down in the session 4.56%. So a lot of weakness in commercial real estate. RF Regional Financial seeing some tremendous downside. Coin is seeing weakness. AMD is actually holding up fairly well here. Heading into earnings, that's interesting. So ANET's now off the table. Jesus. Some of these regional banks are getting slaughtered. PACW is now testing the lows down 16%. Sorry, not the lows, but making intraday lows. Look at the sell-off and the spiders coming in. If these Qs start to give it up, you know, and trigger this neckline, we could be even in for a more bigger sell. But right now, tech is still holding this market up. And it's a matter of, can tech remain strong while the spiders are weak? That's typically a very rare phenomenon. And it's looking like we're having a big sell-off. The dollar's starting to catch another little bounce here. Jeez, this is some incredible weakness, guys. Some incredible weakness. Spiders are still selling. Apple's now starting to break down. So if Apple loses this trend line here, you're going to see the Qs really dump. So I'm still watching Pinterest. It's coming down into our level at 21.29. I'm just going to move some of these key trend lines down. 29.20 and 20.64 is another level. So we'll watch Pinterest and the spiders. Spiders are now catching a small little minor bid. XOM's catching a bid. Oil's still at the lows of the session. Apple's bouncing, Nvidia's bouncing. Microsoft's really insulating the QQQ right now. It's at the highs of the chart, holding up exceptionally well. SYK had a big bounce. Look at that move on GDX. So Pinterest is still coming down. Spiders new lows on the spiders. I'm watching this Q chart very closely. It's very intriguing to me. Spiders are almost hitting that target, guys. Wow. What a flush on the spiders. And Pinterest is coming into our first technical level. Meta's still surging or trying to hold its gains. So spiders are now still selling, guys, and Qs are also selling. Here we go. Here's going to be some interesting plays now. Spiders are almost hitting that target, and this is the thing. The Qs are only starting to weaken right now, and if they trigger this neckline and have a downside target, I mean, where does that put the spiders? That's the big question. Where does this put the spiders? But the spiders are almost hitting target. Pinterest is still coming down. PINS is the ticker for a long around this 21.29. SoFi is just getting absolutely bludgeoned. KRE is just catching no bid here, guys. So is this a banking crisis or what? Look at this IWM. It hit support, barely got a bounce. It's looking exceptionally weak. I mean, this is potentially a failed consolidation pattern that now is looking like it wants to break these lows here. That is super dangerous. You will have some support around here. But right now, Mega Cap Tech is still holding up. Microsoft is just holding these Qs up right now. So if it wasn't for Microsoft, these markets would be in some severe trouble. I mean, look at this spider sell. Look at this spider sell. I'm going to have to now look at some spider longs here. We're approaching a 382 fib retrace on the SPX at 41.34. Spiders are hitting the target now on the downside. They are hitting my downside target. I'm going to wait a little bit more though. And if Microsoft really didn't hold up right now, this market would be in absolute trouble. Alright, spiders hit the downside target on my one screen here. This is actually just slightly off. Needs to come up just a little bit here to about there. SoFi is coming down. Pinterest, I'm still interested in a pins long. Pinterest is still coming down. Steel stocks are under pressure. Talked about that. You're now seeing the Qs starting to weaken. So this is going to be super intriguing now. Apple's testing this neckline break. So look at that. Apple's testing that. And Apple's pushing the Qs. But if it wasn't for Microsoft really negating Apple's weakness, if Microsoft starts seeing some weakness, these Qs and these markets are going to be in trouble. Because look at these Qs. They are starting to break down now. But the spiders are helping it, hitting its target and catching a little bit of a bid here. SoFi is almost at range. Potentially bottom picking SoFi here. But the spiders are still exceptionally weak. Look at the spiders, they're going lower, guys. And why? Because the Qs are also breaking. So you got a confirmed break of this trend line. If we get confirmation, this could be in some serious trouble for the QQQ here. Microsoft's starting to weaken now. Apple's breaking that clear trend line. Boom, look at that break. That is clean. That is a clean break on Apple. Now we wait for confirmation to the downside. So basically the target on this particular pattern on Apple brings you down to about 167. And you can see what tremendous amount of pressure that would put on the overall indices. And now you're seeing Microsoft break down. Still holding up. But it's very difficult for Microsoft to diverge from the Qs. It seems like only Nvidia did that yesterday. Holy, look at these regionals, guys. This is a huge, 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 huge breakdown in the regionals. Holy smokes. What we're seeing here is a nasty sell-off here. If the volume, and this is what's going to be important today, watching the volume in this market. Let me just do a quick volume check. Yields are collapsing, guys, so if we get a heavy volume sell-off here, this could mark the top. Right now, the volume is only about 9.8 million on the spiders. It's not that heavy. It's certainly not that heavy, the volume, which makes me a little bit suspect. But definitely weakness in this market today. Pins is coming down. SoFi is coming down still. Spiders are hitting some good support now. They're coming up into some key support levels. You're tagging the 365-day moving average on the spiders. So you're hitting the 1-year moving average as we speak on the spiders. SoFi is catching a small bounce here, so I might pick up some SoFi here, guys. Alright guys, I just went long SoFi at 482. 482. Sorry, actually I got filled at, oh yeah, 482. 482. Long SoFi. 1-6 position. This is extremely weak. Extremely weak. Next ad level will be about 10 cents lower, and then 10 cents lower after that. And we're going to look for about 10 to 20 cents on the trade. Alright, so we're long SoFi. I'm still watching pins. Markets are catching a small bounce here. Spiders are still nearing the lows, so it's going to be tough for SoFi to bounce with the spiders really hugging the lows. Gold is soaring. Gold is soaring. That's because regionals are getting slaughtered. I'm still interested in pins at a long trade as well. Nvidia is coming now, down more. We're seeing AMD starting to show some initial signs of weakness. BX is still near the lows. PNC is still near the lows. Pac West is getting slaughtered. We're seeing Nvidia testing the lows. Microsoft still coming down. Look at this QQQ and spider sell-off. Look at that QQQ dump. Look at this QQQ, guys. The Qs are going to drag this market down. Spiders are blowing through its levels here. Spiders are blowing through the technical levels as we speak. I do like a spider long trade at around 4,100 or SPX. SoFi is starting to uptick just slightly here. Considering the markets are making new lows and SoFi is starting to bounce, I do like that aspect. It's a slight relative strength. You did hit some support on the spiders here. You did hit some support. There's kind of this down-sloping trend line that we just tagged. Basically, you can see it there. So the spiders are hitting that level right now. And the big question is, will the Qs drag this market lower? Qs are so bloated. Regionals are still at the lows. Amazon's holding up. Amazon is holding up. Uber's still holding up. But SoFi is down 11.97%. Nvidia is now down 1.64%. SoFi, let's move back to SoFi here, which is catching a nice little bid. We're in the money 1 penny on SoFi. Nice little tail candle forming on the 10-minute chart. Pinterest, I'm still interested in Pinterest for a long, but Qs are actually very, very weak right now, guys. So the Qs may have more downside in mega caps, which means we could see some capital rotate out of mega caps into some of the smaller names. I would be curious to see if that happens. Or is this just a full exit liquidity sell-off ahead of the Fed? but these markets are exceptionally weak right now. Alright guys, I'm moving a stop loss on SoFi up to break even 482. 482 stop loss, break even, because I don't want to start letting this trade go against me. I'm going to do it on a 5-minute close. So if we get a close below, Apple's still weak, Microsoft's falling sharper now. SoFi's bouncing here. I am interested in pins. Pins is still coming into our level, guys. Pins is still coming down. SoFi's trying to bounce. Let's see SoFi. And pins is coming in, guys. Pins is coming into our level. So keep Pinterest on your radar because that's now down another 3.22%. And this thing has just been getting bludgeoned. I'm actually going to let SoFi ride a little bit because I'm still seeing market weakness, but SoFi's trying to bounce. Alright guys, I'm going to go long Pinterest here in a moment. I'm going to be going long Pinterest at around 21.29. That is my level. SoFi's still holding up. Schwab is getting slaughtered today. Spiders are catching a small little minor bounce. Very, very minor though. The VIX is up nicely today. Nvidia's seeing more selling. Pins is almost there. 5 cents away on the pins level, and I will go long. I'm going to go 1/5 position. Alright, pins is coming down, guys. This is a good technical level. A big fib retrace. Should bode a bounce as long as the markets don't crash on us. KRE still at the dead lows. Wow, the KREs are absolutely getting demolished. Alright, we're about 3 cents away from pins. 2 cents away from pins. Alright guys, I just went long Pinterest at 21.29, 21.29, and we are yielding a bounce there. Slight little bounce. You see it hit that level. Everyone should have been ready. That was a fast bounce. Look at this bounce already coming in. Still technically valid. It may see another little double dip down. It's 1/6 position. Next ad level will be 20.99. 20.99. Spiders are still not catching any love right now. Alright, pins is even going lower than that level. So we're long SoFi, we're long pins right now. Okay, it's a 1/6 position in each. SoFi I'm still watching. We're slightly out of the money on that one, but it hasn't hit our next level. Has not hit our next level. These two ad levels down here, where we'll increase the position. Pinterest is now coming down some more. Wow, KRE is just getting absolutely bludgeoned, guys. KRE is literally going to cause a market crash, it seems. So Pinterest is trying to bounce. SoFi is still trying to hold up. In terms of a bounce on Pinterest, I think we can look for basically about 15 to 20 cents on Pinterest. 15 to 20 cents on Pinterest. SoFi is now coming down. Spiders are still seeing weakness here. Spiders are trying to bounce, but also seeing more weakness, and that's probably because the Qs have triggered that pattern, guys. So the downside on the Qs takes you much, much lower, which is why it's still dangerous doing day trades, because the pattern is showing we're going longer. So markets are kind of stabilizing. Gold is soaring and roaring. Gold is up 1% now. Massive impulse move to the upside on gold. Big move. SoFi is now coming down even more. SoFi is coming down even more. I'm going to add to my SoFi at that 472 level. 472. So SoFi is trying to bounce, but very weak. Pins is trying to bounce, but also weak. Spiders are making new lows on the session, guys, so this is interesting. Very interesting. You even have ANET trying to test that downside target again after it had a phenomenal bounce. Oof, PacWest Regional Bank was also just halted. I got a halted alert here. So yield, the 2-year yield is now at 4%. They're dropping fast here, guys. They're dropping fast. Qs are still coming down here. Oh, big dump on the spiders, guys. Big dump on the spiders coming in here. Ripping through. Holy, we may... Alright, I'm going to put some protective stops, guys, on Pinterest at Pierce of 2095, just in case we get a market crash. And then we're also going to protect SoFi at a Pierce of 460, just in case we get a market like real flash flush based off of some banks issues. But Pinterest is showing some signs of life here. SoFi is getting bludgeoned. SoFi is still getting bludgeoned. I'm going to add to my SoFi, guys. So guys, I'm adding to my SoFi basically around this technical level. I have not been filled yet. Bouncing off that level. I'm going to see if we get one more flush on SoFi to that 472 level, maybe even a pierce to that. I should have probably added right there, but we'll see. Apple's still seeing weakness, which is why I didn't add yet. And KRE is really still seeing some weakness, which is why I haven't added yet. One more little flush and hopefully we can add. But spiders are seeing some buyers stepping in. Pinterest, we're now in the money on pins. So Pinterest is starting to move up. I'm still watching SoFi on my other screen. I want to see if it can pierce that 472 level, because I'm seeing still tremendous weakness in Apple. Meta creeping in now. So it is still weighing heavy on the spiders here. Qs are also coming down some more. Come on. Let's see if we can get a... Go figure, Riot blockchain is up tremendously. So Bitcoin's actually catching a bid now. Bitcoin is catching a phenomenal bid with this banking crisis. Alright, Pins is bouncing nicely here, guys. Pins is bouncing nicely. Spiders are still near the lows. Pinterest is still trying to hold up. SoFi still hasn't hit that, well, it did hit that 472 level once, but the bounce was so muted, which makes me think that we should see one more little dip on SoFi. Pins is moving up nicely, guys. It's almost at target 1. It's almost at target 1. Meta's coming down, Nvidia's still coming down, Qs are still seeing weakness. Qs have not hit their downside target yet, which is why this market could see even more downside. But you have the yields collapsing on all ends of the spectrum here. And the volume's still not that heavy right now on the spiders, but it's still a decent sell-off that's coming into fruition here. Pins is now coming back down as well. SoFi starting to bounce. Big bounce on Pinterest here, guys. We're almost at target 1. Let's see if we can get a bigger bounce. Markets are short-term oversold. Short-term oversold. Let's see if we can get above this 2140, guys. Come on. One more little push. It's looking likely we're going to get it. Pins is pushing, guys. Pins is pushing. We're almost at target there. Come on, Pins. Get your butt moving. Qs are still catching a nice bounce here. But Apple just got hit right back down. Alright guys, I'm out of pins here. 21.43. We hit target. That's a beautiful little gain. 15-cent gain. I had 1,000 shares in pin. That was just a starter position. But a nice 150 bucks in our pocket plus the Uber trade. And now we're just going to manage SoFi, which is still acting exceptionally weak. Pins is still coming back down. I'm still looking at that A-net maybe for a long, but it is still holding up. Bitcoin's having a huge move. Take a look at coin here. Coin is moving up because of Bitcoin. Look at that surge in Bitcoin. It's interesting to see. Spiders are still acting weak. The Qs still have a downside target that they need to fulfill right around this level, which leads me to suspect that markets could go lower. Markets absolutely could go lower. We're seeing SoFi still come down. Qs are now seeing another round of selling here, guys. Nvidia's down 1.5%. Netflix is down. Microsoft's still holding gains here. So imagine that. Even with the weakness in the Qs, Microsoft is still holding up. SoFi is now catching a bounce. SoFi is now catching a small little bounce here. Guys, I'm also looking at Schwab for a long. Look at the sell-off in Schwab. I mean, that's incredible. That is incredible. Alright guys, I just went long Schwab here. 49.41, 49.41, long Schwab. 49.41. $49.41 long Schwab. This one's also getting hammered. It is trending lower. SoFi is trying to bounce, but ever so weak. Markets are coming back down again. Schwab is still selling off here, guys, but we're just a starter position. SoFi is trying to bounce. Alright, we're seeing the spiders trying to make new lows again. Schwab is also coming down. I'm going to add to Schwab at around a Pierce of 49 bucks. Pierce of 49 bucks. Nvidia's coming down. Microsoft's starting to break down now as well. SoFi's still just hovering. And that was a good exit on Pinterest because Pins is also seeing more weakness. If Pins test this low here, I may be interested in going long again. But we'll just manage Schwab because the banks are weak. But next ad level on Schwab would be a Pierce of this $49 level. The dollar's still dropping, yields are still dropping, Qs are still dropping, oil's still dropping, nat gas is still dropping. Everything's dropping except for Bitcoin, gold, and obviously the VIX plays. Microsoft is about to turn negative, just going negative as we speak momentarily. Bitcoin is soaring and roaring, guys. Bitcoin is soaring and roaring. We may have a short on Bitcoin as a day trade. The level I'm looking at is around 29,000. 29,000 we can short Bitcoin. And you're seeing this QQQ just starting to roll. Alright, we're going to add to Schwab at a Pierce of 49 bucks, guys. Pierce of 49 bucks. I'm still watching SoFi come down. Wow, look at this sell-off on the spiders. Now, this is where the weakness in the Qs are coming in hot and heavy, guys. Hot and heavy. Microsoft's still coming down. Apple's almost at its target. So Apple still needs to head to target here, which is down here, which makes me think there's more downside in this market. Take a look at the spiders. MSoft has rolled over. Look at that rollover on Microsoft. So it was holding up relatively well, and now it's rolling over. Schwab is still fighting here. Volume's increasing, so there's buyers stepping in. But I'm looking for another Pierce of 49. SoFi still hasn't taken out the lows despite the markets making new lows, so short-term positive on that. Let's do this ANET check. That one's actually interesting too. I want to see ANET hit this, pierce this 140 level. And I may consider going long on ANET. But let's just manage this Schwab trade in SoFi. KRE still dumping. Gold is surging. Bitcoin's taking a small little breather here. Tremendous amount of weakness. Healthcare is obviously being a sign of defensive. Wells Fargo's getting slaughtered. Bank of America is now getting slaughtered. China stocks are getting slaughtered. This is nasty. Even look at the DXY falling. It's not helping this market. DXY is falling ever so sharply, and this market is not even bouncing. Look at Schwab. Schwab. So keep Schwab on the radar around 49 Pierce. We will add to our Schwab trade. 49 Pierce. We will add to our Schwab trade. Gold is just ripping. Gold is ripping higher here, right ahead of the Fed. And is this the market telling the Fed to back off? Perhaps. Jesus, just massacres occurring. Tesla's still holding up, and so is Uber. That's very intriguing. Let me see if Uber's holding up well. I do like potentially Uber for a short here at 35.14, but let the markets bounce. If the markets get a big bounce, we're gonna see Uber rip higher because it's a relative strength name. QQQ still haven't hit the downside target. Neither has Apple, but it's very, very close to doing so. Very, very close to doing so. Regionals are catching a small bounce. Schwab is still ever so weak. Pins is coming lower. SoFi is now catching a small little bounce off the lows. That's good to see. Schwab is still ever so weak. We're slightly out of the money on Schwab. Very interesting day. It's now 10:30. So we'll see the volume trends right now are still light. Volume trends are still light. But you've had the 2-year yield now close back below 4%. That is an extreme bearish price action on the 2-year yield. And the dollar is just getting absolutely slaughtered. Pins is coming lower. Apple's falling more. Schwab is still under pressure. SoFi still getting rejected. But go figure, from the high to the low on SoFi, no bounce, has fallen just from 2 days about 20, almost 28%. In 2 days, no bounce. So I find that super intriguing. Pinterest is still on watch. Apple's falling lower now, so the Qs are getting absolutely bludgeoned now. Qs did hit the downside target. Or sorry, actually I have it at the downside target on my screen here at 318.79. 318.79. We're almost there. Pinterest is still on watch for a long, but it needs to come a little bit lower. Schwab I'm prepared to add at 49 Pierce. Getting a little bit of a bounce here now. The markets should get a bounce here. Apple's almost at its downside target. It's going to pierce 168 and it's hit its achieved downside target. Doesn't mean it can't go lower, but that's what the initial breakdown pattern suggests. Big sell-off, guys. The markets are still going. Look at this drop in the dollar. Wow, what a drop in the dollar. And the markets are just not catching a bid. And this is the inflection point that we could come and hit at some point, is that despite the dollar falling, I mean, the markets don't have to bounce. Eventually, and part of the cycle analysis is you do find this recessionary trend where the dollar falls, yields fall, and the markets also fall. We've been so used to the accustomed correlation where the dollar's falling, markets are up, dollar's rising, markets are down. But at some point, that correlation will break, as all correlations do eventually break. Look at SoFi, we're almost back to break even. That would have been a perfect level to add. I'm very disappointed that I didn't get to add. That's unfortunate. I'm still looking at Uber for a potential short. But markets are looking like they want to bounce here. Apple's getting a bit off the lows. SoFi, we're now in the money. Schwab is bouncing. Dollar's just falling sharply lower here. Blackstone's down 5.44%. Nvidia's still near the lows. Pins is making a new low. Too bad natural gas isn't participating in a bounce. There's just so much weakness in the markets. Oil's still acting very weak. Nvidia is making new lows, or testing the lows. Pinterest is making new lows. Jeez, weakness, crazy weakness. We really threaded the needle on Pinterest there. We caught the only bounce in the friggin' chart and picked the high, and now it's making new lows. I'm still interested in trading this one again if we see another bounce. Schwab is coming down, guys. Get ready to add to Schwab. I will add to Schwab at 49 bucks. Dollar's still falling sharply lower. Bitcoin's taking a breather. It's now approaching the 10:40 time frame. I'm going to call this stream to an end fairly soon here. We'll just stay with you for another 10 minutes just to see if we get a bounce. But again, I'm looking for about 10 to 15 cents on SoFi, and I'm looking for about 50 cents on Schwab, maybe a bounce back to 50 bucks. Spiders are catching a bid here. So markets seem to be stabilizing. Apple did hit its downside target. Charts are actually, no, it didn't hit it. It almost did, but not quite. Pinterest is making new lows. Schwab is trying to bounce here. So here comes SoFi. Schwab is also bouncing. Alright, I'm going to call this stream to an end. I'm going to give you the parameters. Again, 10 to 15 cents on SoFi. I'm going to put a break-even stop right now. The stop limit's actually 1 penny in the money, just so we make a little bit of money there. But basically, in terms of Schwab, I'm looking for about a move back to 50. I still have additional add levels on Schwab that are higher, or sorry, that are lower, 49. Basically, every 50 cents lower, I will prepare to add to Schwab until I accumulate a full fourth position. But on that note, SoFi is moving up, so protect that trade. That's good to see that we're in the money. But these markets, there's underlying risks in this market, and will we see more profit taking ahead of the Fed? That is the big question. I just moved my stop up to 486, which got triggered on SoFi. 486. I'm out of SoFi for a nice little gain there. But needless to say, really Schwab is the only trade now that we're managing. But I am going to end this stream at this note. Congrats on the 3 winners: Uber, SoFi, Pins, and we're just managing Schwab. So good job on the winning trades this morning. And just be vigilant that these markets could see more and more profit taking. They are oversold, but they could see more profit taking. Thank you all for tuning in. Definitely be cautious ahead of the FOMC meeting tomorrow, because that is what's certainly going to be market moving. On that note, take care everybody, and we'll see you on the charts tomorrow.